Welcome. My name is William Dvorak, and I'm a fractional CTO. I build minimum viable products for essentialist entrepreneurs. And today we're starting to talk about minimum viable products, lean startups, building your prototype, building your software, architecting, all that stuff. So today I'm going to run through an article that I wrote about mistakes making minimum viable products, and we're going to go from there. My company is MVP Engineer, and I build software for startups. So here we're going to start with 12 mistakes building your MVP, minimum viable product, and what you can do instead. So I've built a ton of minimum viable products. I've worked for Google, was there for 4 years on a number of different teams, built the Zagat app, the restaurant curation app from scratch under the purview of a $1 trillion company of Google. Started with 0 lines of code and launched to tens of thousands of users, and built dozens more for clients and for myself. So I distilled a couple of lessons and a couple of things to take home to not do in your MVP and your minimum viable product. So the first thing is not hyper focusing. It must be hyper focused. It must be so focused and only one thing. We're only looking at a single problem, a single demographic. You want your demographic to be small, very specific, not broad. You're not Google. You're not going to launch to hundreds of thousands of people. You're not going to launch to millions of people. You're going to launch to 100. And those people have to have something very specific in common. Um, and you have to delight them. So that's the purpose. That's what you want to do. Be super focused. So let's see some examples. You don't want to launch to retail investors or school teachers or real estate agents. Those categories are too large. Those are huge categories. There's tens of millions of people in those categories. You might want to launch to elementary school math teachers or real estate agents only selling single family duplexes, two unit duplexes, or these multifamily units. Um, those have much more manageable uh, demographic or number of people, but more importantly, just they have more in common. You can get specific about what you're offering them because you're not trying to be McDonald's. You're not trying to be everything to everyone. So again, here we see we're looking to get diehard fans and broaden from there. We don't want to try and get everybody to like us. We want to get a tiny number of people to love us. Um, the next thing is if you build everything bespoke, you don't want to do that. You don't want to build a lot of custom software. It's not worth your time. It's not worth your energy. It's not worth your money. What you want to do is pull from off-the-shelf libraries, off-the-shelf APIs, steal code from other places, use the code of people that have published to the open source community, use those things and apply them to your new business context. There's already tons of tools that do natural language processing and text generation and sending emails, of course, right? All of these things have libraries, have APIs, have tools that you can take off the shelf. And what you want to do is pay somebody to integrate it and pull pull together the couple of APIs that you're going to use and then apply it to your business use case and have a solid UX to deliver to the user. Don't build everything bespoke. Outsourcing for the first time. You don't want to outsource if you've never outsourced a task before. There's a pretty big learning curve to outsourcing, language barriers, as well as task definition, time zone issues. But task generation and task communication, and then follow up and verification and validation is very difficult. And if you want to hire a software engineer for $30 an hour, you get what you pay for. You have to have tremendous skill in making sure that they don't spend 10 hours building the wrong thing, because you can hire somebody, a Google engineer for $300 an hour, and they'll spend 30 minutes on the task and they'll know what you're talking about. Or, you can hire somebody for 20 bucks, 30 bucks, and there'll be lots of back and forth and lots of your time, lots of their time spending building the wrong stuff. So outsourcing for the first time, don't do it. Not building something polished and lovable. You want your MVP to be polished. You want it lovable. You want it a rough draft. You want it to have errors, and you want to do that while you're sending it to family and friends, to your close-knit group of people that want to see you succeed, that want to see you build a good product, that want to give you feedback, right? You want it early, you want to get early feedback. But once you make it broad, and once you distribute to the public and to a stranger, somebody you've never met, it needs to be polished. There can't be gross errors, especially in the happy path. If you are doing just the standard sign-up flow and there's an error or a pop-up that says this is broken, or it redirects to an error page, you can't have that. When you're launching to strangers, you get one shot to make a good impression for the brand, so it needs to be polished. I'm all about making broken code and iterating and building 90% working. But once you're releasing to strangers, you have to be on point. And it's better to build something smaller and have less features and have it polished and right when you distribute to strangers and to the public, to new people. Waiting for an equity co-founder. So many people I speak with are waiting for the perfect technology partner to come along and save them and buy in for equity and build their product, sweat equity, locking themselves in their basement for months, building it for the promise of equity. And it just doesn't happen. Nobody does that. If you're skilled, you're working for Netflix, you're working for Facebook, you're working for Microsoft, Google, you're making $500,000, $750,000 a year. You're not going to work for free for somebody's idea that is unproven. They have an idea, they want to build a product. Every software engineer that can do this has 1,000 ideas, has a dozen ideas that they want to go and build on their own time, and they'll go do that when they have that time. But they're not going to work for free for a co-founder that has an idea. There needs to be significant traction. There needs to be maybe $1 million raised from a VC, or there needs to be signed contracts from partners that say, we need this tool. There needs to be significant social proof on the back end to find an equity co-founder. But what I've found a better path is to get an MVP, spend a couple $1,000s, have a working product, and sell that to an investor and say, hey, this is what we have. It's working. It's functional. Not only is the technology possible, but it is here. I can demonstrate it. I have a website, and you can go from soup to nuts. You know it's working, and we have 100 users, right? And that is an infinitely better place. And then you have the money, you have the social proof, you have some customers, you have some partnerships, and then finding an equity co-founder or a CTO that wants to work as a full-fledged member of the company, that becomes significantly easier. Similar to that, raising funds without a prototype, going to a VC, showing them an exponential hockey stick. Look at this. You know that my product is going to reach 1 million users. It's going to be 100,000 next month and 1 million the month after. This potential is huge. We're going to make billions, right? All that's heard dozens of times a day. It's not compelling. Nobody cares. There are infinite number of markets. There's infinite amount of money to be made. But what has to happen is you have to be an execution specialist. You have to be able to execute. And the way to demonstrate that is have a working technical prototype. Have working software that is defensible. You can say, this took work to make. It wasn't built on Wix. It cannot be duplicated in a weekend by my competitor. Google can't step in and spend a week with one engineer to build the exact feature and just blow me out of the water. We've spent time, we've spent money, we've built expertise in this. We've chatted with ChatGPT for 100 hours, and we've refined our prompts to be exactly what we need. And this is our trade secret. We've developed this. We're defensible, and we have a prototype. Give us money. And then the answer is so much easier to be yes. Preparing for scale prematurely. You don't want to assume that the product that you build in its current form will reach 1 million people. If you create a ton of tests, have rock solid security, have all of the things necessary, full documentation, all the stuff necessary for a company like Google that's launching to 1 million users, you're going to be wasting your time and energy and effort, because the product that you build today is not the product that's going to reach 1 million users, no matter what, because it will change. It has to change. So you want to keep the code base small. You want to keep it nimble. There's no reason to test or to have like too many tests or lots of test coverage. It's just double work that needs to be changed, on a daily basis. It just needs to keep getting thrown out and added new. We'll have another episode sometime later on testing, but don't prepare for scale prematurely. Prepare for maybe 10 times bigger than you're launching, right? You want to launch to 100 users, make sure the site works for 1,000, right? No more than that. Building on all platforms. You need to validate the idea. You don't need to build 3 versions of your website. Android, iOS, mobile web, right? You don't need multiple versions. Mobile web is usually the best answer for most apps, but we can get into those trade-offs sometime later as well. But you only need to build one. Think about which is the most common and build only that. If it's only Swift in iOS, only build that, and then get some users, get the traction, see what features are resonating, and then you can expand out. You can build it React Native or duplicate and go to Android, Android native Kotlin and whatever. Don't wait for it to be perfect. Get constant feedback, right? You want your early adopters to be partners with you. You want them to tell you what's wrong. You want them to tell you what they need. And if you wait forever and you say, let's spend 6 months building this MVP and then have this huge launch party, that's almost never the right answer. Building duplicate features of competitors. In general, you don't want to compete on price. You don't want to build the same thing that's already out there. If there's a way to get this done in the marketplace, the same feature, don't build it again. focus on the unique components first. Focus on the thing that's impossible to get in the market, and then see what people will pay. Find what's unique, and only build that, right? Um, yeah, if there's an alternative, they'll go there. Like, they've already met their needs in this other place. And eventually, when your company grows and gets bigger, you will have to build duplicate features, right? You'll have to build those because you want to be the one-stop shop. You want to be the only place that they come for these needs, whether it's finance related or, real estate, whatever it is. You want to be the one-stop shop. But to get those first users, you need to be completely unique, and you need to draw them in with something new that is a need that's met afresh. Same type of idea, building unwanted features, right? Um, you can kind of figure out what might be wanted by using a strategy called painted doors. So if you think about a physical storefront, building a store, a strategy you could employ is painting with just paint a door on the front of your store. And you put it in the middle of town, and you say, Williams Candy Shop. And you see how many people knock on the door, how many people tried to get in and buy candy from you, right? The door doesn't work. There is no candy in the building. There's no way to make a purchase. But you're doing market research. You're gauging the interest in your store. You're saying, how many people care about this? How many people want this? What kind of foot traffic is there? Paint the door on the front of the building and see how many people knock. In the same way, you can test features in this way. You can test features to say, this is the widget that we built. Click here to buy it. They click buy. They type in their credit card number if you want. They see the price, $15 per widget. They click buy, and it redirects them to a page that says, thanks for the interest. We've signed you up for our mailing list. We'll let you know when it's available. It is currently not available, but you've seen somebody pay $15. They've paid $15. There's no ambiguity that they want that product. They've pulled out their wallet. They've typed in their numbers. It is the most clear market research, right? And that way you can gauge what features are wanted, what features are not wanted. There is some brand integrity considerations here. You don't always want to physically have people type in their credit card and then disappoint them and say this doesn't exist. But it is a strategy that's possible, and depending on your brand strategy, you may want to employ that, or you may just want to make the page and say, click here to buy, and then you click buy and you say unavailable. So it depends on how you want to go about that. But painted doors is a great strategy. Worrying too much about the choice of technology stack, tech stack. We have some other articles and thoughts on what tech stacks make sense for MVP building. But yeah, the point here is get started. Don't obsess over getting the perfect choice. So many engineers love discussing languages and technologies and have strong opinions and just want to talk about it all day. They love solving problems. They like playing chess. They're problem solvers. But what you need is a partner it's a businessman. You need somebody that wants to create impact. And to create impact, you need to start building, right? And your tech stack choice has to be informed by the business needs, not, is this an academic language that is wonderful to write in and everybody loves it? And for me personally, I love OCaml, but it's not a practical language to write business to write business logic and business code. So don't obsess over the tech stack. Get started. make it happen, and you can, translating it in the future is not, it's not a make or break. It's not great, but it's not make or break. Not getting started and not finding the features that are necessary, that is make or break. That needs to happen. And then we have a bonus, not staying true to your vision, right? Sometimes you'll launch to 5 users, and one of them will be very vocal and say, I want you to do this. I have these problems, make these features. And an entrepreneur will say, I can make those features. I know how to make those features. I can solve your problems. I can fix that. I can make a product for you. But as the entrepreneur that's the expert in a certain field and knows a certain demographic or knows what they want to build, don't be persuaded or pushed away from your vision. Don't build something because one or two people said, this is what I want, this is what I need, right? You know the demographic you want to build for. You know your expertise. Build what you want, right? Because the people that are going to buy your product don't know what they want and aren't going to tell you, right? So ultimately, you have to be the expert. You have to be the one that knows, and you have to be the one to build that. If there's 100 people out of 200 people telling you they want this a certain feature, then you probably want to listen. But it has to be in line with your vision. It has to be in line with your expertise, right? It might be a good business for somebody else, if it's not in line with your demographic. But stay true to what you know and what you want. So those are some mistakes that I see made pretty often, and how to, what to do instead, how to do it the right way. So thank you for your attention, and we'll see you next time.